The entire story of Kappa, Japan's weirdest water demon. Tonight on Mythoria, we drift gently into the quiet waters of old Japan, where rivers and ponds held not only life, but mystery. The Kappa, half child and half creature, was said to wait beneath the surface, sometimes playful, sometimes dangerous, always bound to the rhythm of the water. In villages long ago, parents whispered of it to their children, not to frighten them, but to teach them. The Kappa was a reminder that rivers could nourish, yet rivers could also take. It carried the weight of both mischief and warning, a spirit shaped by the human need to explain what could not be seen. As you lie back and let your breathing slow, imagine the soft ripples of a moonlit stream and the quiet shadow of something watching just beyond the surface. Now, let us begin. The entire story of Kappa, Japan's weirdest water demon. The entire story of Kappa, Japan's weirdest water demon. Whispers by the river gentle streams carry more than water. They carry stories. You find yourself walking along a Japanese riverbank, where villagers whisper of strange beings below the surface. The Kappa waits in silence, half child, half creature, drawing curiosity and unease. You walk slowly along the edge of a quiet Japanese river. The water moves with a soft rhythm, like the breath of the earth itself. Night is beginning to fall, and the air is cool, heavy with the scent of wet stone and drifting leaves. The world feels hushed, as if waiting. The villagers tell stories here. They say the river is never empty. They say a presence lingers, half in the water, half in the world of people. A child's laugh echoes, though no children are near. A ripple appears, though no stone has been thrown. And always in the distance, a whisper, the whisper of the Kappa. The Kappa, they say, is a creature of the water, a being older than the stories themselves. It waits beneath the current, watching, listening. It is not quite human, not quite animal, and yet it carries both qualities in its form. You imagine yourself standing at the water's edge, gazing into the reflection. The surface glimmers like polished glass. If you stare long enough, you might see a shadow move. If you wait in silence, you might hear the faint splash of something or someone. The people of Japan have long lived beside rivers, ponds, and lakes. Water nourished the rice fields, carried the boats, gave life to the land. But water also carried danger. Children might slip on wet stones. Travelers might drown while crossing. Horses might be pulled beneath the surface. And so the Kappa became a story, a warning, a living reminder that beauty hides danger. As you breathe in the night air, you realize the tale is not only about fear. It is about awareness. It is about listening to what the world whispers, softly but clearly. The river asks you a question tonight. Do you believe in what hides beneath still water? Do you believe in what people once saw in the half-light of evening, when imagination and truth blurred into one? You do not yet know, but the story is only beginning. A creature between worlds. The Kappa is neither fully human nor fully animal. With a turtle's shell, a beak, and a hollow dish of water upon its head, it lives between myth and nature. Its form is a mirror of fear and fascination, reflecting how people once explained the unknown. You stand a little closer to the water, and the river seems to speak in ripples. It tells you that some beings do not belong to one shore or the other. They live in the seam, the narrow hem where two worlds are stitched together. The Kappa lives there, between stillness and current, between human fear and natural grace. You picture its form slowly, respectfully, as if sketching in the dusk. A child-sized body, but not a child's. Thin limbs, slightly too long. Webbing between fingers, webbing between toes, as if the river itself leaves threads on its skin. A turtle's shell rests upon its back, not decorative, but purposeful. A shield, a memory of ancient waters. The face holds an almost familiar shape, yet not quite. Where you expect a mouth, there is a beak, softly curved, gently sharp, the color of old reeds. And at the crown of the head, set like a moonlit bowl, is a shallow dish. In that dish, water rests. It is not ordinary water, it is the creature's strength, the quiet pulse of its life. When the dish is filled, the Kappa feels vivid, quick, clever as flowing stream. When the dish empties, the Kappa grows weak, humbled by gravity and ground. You sense how such details travel in the memory of villages. One elder shares the shape of the beak, another remembers the cool glisten of the head dish. Children listen, adding their own shadows and light. A story becomes a quilt, threaded by many hands, warmed by many winters. Some call the Kappa by other names, Kawataro in certain regions, or Gawapa in others. Names drift like fallen leaves, turning and turning yet pointing to the same presence. In painted scrolls of old Japan, the kind kept safe in dim rooms and careful hands, artists captured this being with a steady brush. They did not shout its terror, they recorded its nature. They gave it space to breathe on paper, the way water gives space to stones. You wonder about the dish again, the small shining bowl atop the head. It is a symbol and a rule. If the Kappa bows, if it shows the courtesy that bridges worlds, the dish tilts. Water spills. Power slips away like a secret back into the river, and so respect, that quiet thread in every human meeting, becomes a shield stronger than iron. A villager who bows first does more than greet. They ask the water to stand still, the current to hold back its hand. You think of other rules learned by the river. Cucumbers, for example, a Kappa's favorite taste. Families would carve their names on cucumbers and place them as offerings by the bank. A simple bargain forms. We feed the river's child, and the river's child leaves our children in peace. On summer days, the bright green skins gleam on stones, and the current carries the scent of something crisp and kind. But the Kappa is not a creature of sweetness alone. Like water, it can be laughing one moment and dangerous the next. It plays at the edges of the possible, tugging at travelers' sleeves, teasing horses at fords. It is a reminder that nature is not a tame companion. It is an old teacher with moods and tides. It does not hate you. It does not love you. It simply exists with its own rules, its own hunger, its own pride. Yet the stories tell that the Kappa, for all its tricks, can learn. It is bound by promises, perhaps more strongly than many people are. If you treat it fairly, if you rescue it when it falters, say, when its head dish spills and strength fades, the Kappa may owe a debt. And debt, in the world between worlds, is no small thing. One tale says the Kappa, grateful and chastened, returns to fix bones, to teach healing, to guide hands with river-born knowledge. Another whispers that a pact was made and kept for years, like a bridge that never washes away. You pause and let that thought rest. A creature of mischief who honors agreements. A being feared for the pull of water, yet respected for the pull of its word. Perhaps that is what makes the Kappa so vividly human to us, its contradictions. We too carry shells and softness, cunning and courtesy, appetite and restraint. We too are strongest when what fills us, our attention, our gratitude, our humility, is held level and full. The night deepens. The river blackens to polished ink, and a thin silver line of moon settles across it. You hear the faint splash of a fish, the pluck of a frog. You feel the nearness of something curious just below the surface, watching you with alert, unblinking patience. You bow, a quiet gesture to the old rules. The air bows back, rustling the reeds, and for a second, the water in the leaves trembles as if the world itself answered. The Kappa is a creature between worlds. Yes, but you realize that you are too. standing between waking and sleep, between the known and the guessed, between the shore of today and the deeper waters of memory. In this narrow place, fear can soften into understanding. In this seam, stories can guide like lanterns along a river path. And as you listen, you ask yourself a gentle question, the kind a river might ask if it had a voice. If courtesy can calm a water demon, what might your own small courtesies soothe in the restless currents of your life? You wait for the answer to rise, slow as a bubble from the dark. It does not come yet. The water sways. A distant laugh, childlike, almost kind, glides along the surface. Something playful is approaching, something with quick hands and a taste for green. You breathe once more and let the river lead you onward. Mischief and menace. You hear how the Kappa loves tricks, stealing cucumbers, mocking travelers, pulling horses into rivers, yet its pranks sometimes turn darker, crossing into danger. To imagine the Kappa is to feel the thin line between playfulness and peril. You step further into the story, and the river shifts its mood. It is no longer only calm and watchful. It begins to play, to tease, to ripple with sudden laughter. This is the way of the Kappa. It is a creature of mischief, a trickster in the reeds, a spirit that delights in testing the edges of human patience. Imagine a hot summer day. Children gather near the water, their feet dangling above the current. One child drops a cucumber into the stream, hoping to please the hidden watcher. Another leans too far over, and the water pulls at their sleeve. A splash, a gasp, a sudden rush of panic, yet the child scrambles back to safety, laughing nervously at what could have been. The villagers say, softly but firmly, "Beware," for that was the Kappa's hand. Mischief is the Kappa's breath. It steals food from baskets left too near the bank. It frightens travelers with sudden noises in the reeds. It unties the ropes of boats, letting them drift away into the mist. And always there is a laughter, thin, high, like the cry of a bird, but sharper, more mocking. The Kappa does not despise you. It simply cannot resist its tricks. But laughter has a shadow. The same hands that steal cucumbers also drag animals beneath the surface. Horses, oxen, sometimes even the careless wanderer. They vanish into the water's hungry depth. A prank becomes peril, and the villagers understand. To live near water is to live with both joy and danger. The Kappa embodies this dual truth. You pause to think of rivers themselves. One moment they glimmer with beauty, carrying blossoms and drifting light. The next, they swell with rain, bursting their banks, carrying away fields, homes, and dreams. Water does not mean harm, yet harm can come by water. So too with the Kappa. It mirrors the river's moods, playful in the morning, menacing at dusk, calm when respected, fierce when ignored. Old stories say the Kappa challenges people to sumo wrestling. Imagine the scene. A figure rises from the water, dripping, grinning, its dish of water gleaming like a jewel on its head. It bows politely, and then it gestures with long, webbed fingers. Wrestle me. To refuse feels dangerous. To agree feels impossible. For how can a person wrestle a river? Yet clever villagers know the trick. They bow back, deeply, respectfully. The Kappa, bound by courtesy, returns the bow, and in that single act, the water from its dish spills. Strength leaves its body like breath leaving the chest. The Kappa collapses, weakened, humbled. Once again, respect saves life, but not all mischief ends with safety. Some tales are darker. There are whispers of Kappa seeking something beyond pranks and wrestling, something within the human body itself. Old superstitions claim they desired the Shirikodama, a mythical sphere said to rest within a person, holding their spirit or life force. These tales are not told with laughter. They are warnings, spoken in low voices near firelight. They remind children not to swim too far, not to trust the cool hands beneath the surface. For mischief can mask menace, and games can blur into harm. Yet, even here, a strange balance emerges. The Kappa is feared, but never fully hated. It is mocked in paintings, ridiculed in poems, tricked by clever farmers. It is treated almost like a naughty neighbor, dangerous, yes, but also familiar. People learn to live with the presence, the same way they live with storms or earthquakes. You cannot stop the earth from trembling, but you can prepare, you can respect. The Kappa becomes part of life's rhythm. You breathe deeply now, letting the lesson settle. The Kappa teaches in its own mischievous way. It shows that laughter and fear are often born from the same source. It shows that play, when pushed too far, becomes peril. It shows that life by the river is always a negotiation. Give cucumbers, show respect, bow when challenged, and perhaps the mischief will pass you by. The night grows darker. The water reflects the stars, each one quivering with the ripples of unseen movement. Somewhere you hear a splash. Not threatening, not kind, simply curious. You imagine the Kappa watching you, deciding whether to play a trick, deciding whether to leave you in peace. Its eyes glimmer like wet stones, unreadable, alive. And you ask yourself softly, like a thought that drifts across the current, when does your own playfulness turn into harm? When do your jokes cross the line into wounds? The Kappa waits with the answer, but it does not speak. It only laughs, that strange laugh between joy and menace, and slips once more into the folds of the water. The ritual of respect. Villagers knew the Kappa's weakness, water spilling from the dish on its head. With a bow, the Kappa would bow back, spilling its own power. You see how respect and ritual shaped survival, teaching lessons about humility, wit, and reverence for the unknown. The river has shown you mischief. It has shown you menace. Now it whispers something gentler, something older than fear, the power of respect. In every story of the Kappa, this thread appears, quiet, shining, steady. It is not strength of arm that saves the villager, not sharp weapons nor loud voices, but a gesture so simple it seems like nothing at all. A bow, a moment of humility, the bending of the body and the bending of pride. You picture it clearly. A villager, perhaps a farmer, stands at the edge of the stream. From the reeds, the Kappa emerges, child-sized, dripping, its shell gleaming in the half-light. Its eyes are playful, yet sharp. Its beak curls in something like a smile. It bows as custom demands, a ritual carried from the depths of human etiquette into the realm of spirits. And as it bows, the water in the shallow dish upon its head tips forward. A few drops spill, then a steady stream. The bowl empties, and with it, the creature's strength. The proud Kappa falls to its knees, powerless, unable to rise. The villager is safe, not through violence, but through patience and courtesy. This ritual repeats again and again in the stories. Children are taught, when in doubt, bull. When you meet what you do not understand, show respect. Even the most dangerous spirit can be bound by manners. It is a lesson that travels beyond rivers. It becomes a mirror for life itself. How many conflicts, you wonder, could be softened by humility? How many dangers might weaken when met not with fists, but with quiet respect? The Kappa, though mischievous, is a creature bound by rules. It cannot break its promise once given. It cannot refuse a bow, for politeness is woven into its being. In this way, it is not unlike the people who feared it. Humans, too, are held together by ritual. Greetings, gestures, courtesies that smooth the edges of living together. The Kappa is strange, yes, but it reflects back something deeply human. The power of habit, the need for honor, the binding thread of tradition. Other rituals grew around the Kappa, born of fear and necessity, but also of trust. Villagers carved their names into cucumbers and cast them into rivers. A gift for the water demon, a contract written not in ink, but in green flesh and flowing current. The Kappa, drawn to its favorite food, would take the cucumber instead of a child, and the family would rest easier through the summer. A simple offering repeated generation after generation until it became part of the rhythm of life. Children learned not only to fear the Kappa, but also to feed it, to treat it as a neighbor, troublesome but constant. Sometimes the ritual of respect led to friendship. One tale tells of a Kappa who lost its strength when bowing, and the villager, instead of fleeing, gently refilled the dish upon its head. The Kappa, touched by this unexpected kindness, pledged loyalty. From that day onward, it helped the family, irrigating fields, healing the sick, guiding the lost. A creature once feared became a companion, all because of a single act of respect returned with respect. Like the river itself, the Kappa flowed between danger and blessing, depending on how one approached it. You breathe slowly, imagining this ritual again. You bow in your mind, lowering your head, feeling the soft release of tension in your neck and shoulders. It feels natural, calming, safe, and you realize that this ancient gesture carries something beyond survival. It carries peace. It carries surrender to the truth that you cannot control all things, that some powers are larger than you. But you can honor them, and in honoring, you find safety. The night deepens, and the stars above shimmer like countless bowls of water, each one brimming with reflected light. The river mirrors them, a dark ribbon stitched with silver. Somewhere, perhaps, a Kappa lingers, curious and watchful. You imagine bowing toward it, your reflection bowing too, doubled in the water. The reeds rustle as though the creature bows back, unseen but present. For a moment, the air feels balanced, respectful, whole, and you wonder softly what powers in your life might be calmed, what dangers might be lessened if you met them with courtesy instead of fear. The Kappa teaches not by words, but by ritual. And in this teaching, the water grows quiet again, as if satisfied that you have listened. The symbol of water's danger. The Kappa was more than a demon. It was a warning. Rivers could drown, ponds could claim lives. By shaping fear into story, parents kept children cautious. The Kappa became a guardian of boundaries, whispering of life's fragile balance. The story of the Kappa is more than the tale of a strange water demon. It is a mirror held up to nature itself, a reminder carved into folklore. For as much as rivers bring life, they also bring death. The Kappa is the shape people gave to danger, the face they painted upon the hidden pool of water. You imagine yourself as a parent in an old Japanese village. Your child runs toward the riverbank, laughing, eager to cool their feet in the stream. Your heart quickens. You know how swiftly water can change, how a slip on wet stone can turn laughter into silence. But instead of scolding, you tell a story. You whisper of the Kappa, how it waits in the shadows, how it loves to tug at ankles, how it pulls the careless beneath the current. The child listens, wide-eyed, and steps back from the edge. Fear, softened by imagination, becomes a tool for safety. The Kappa is more than a monster. It is a warning woven into bedtime tales. It is the embodiment of rivers in flood, of ponds too deep to trust, of currents that look calm but hide strength below. When villagers spoke of the Kappa, they were really speaking of water itself, beautiful, necessary, and endlessly dangerous. Think of Japan's landscape, mountains, valleys, endless streams tumbling from high places into fertile fields. Life depends on these waters. Rice grows only where rivers feed it. Villages thrive only where streams run steady. And yet, every family has a story of loss. Someone who drowned, someone who vanished beneath the surface, someone whose laughter never returned. The Kappa became a way to speak of these losses without naming them too directly. It gave form to grief, turning sorrow into a cautionary tale. You walk again along the dark river in your mind. The surface glimmers in the starlight, calm and serene. But you know the truth. Calm water can be the most dangerous of all. No ripples to warn you, no sound to suggest struggle, only silence as the current moves beneath. The Kappa, too, wears this mask. It can smile, it can bow, it can seem almost friendly. And then, suddenly, it strikes. This duplicity makes the story linger, makes it unforgettable. Some tales even say that the Kappa loves contests, riddles, and games. It challenges you not to destroy, but to test. Lose, and you may pay dearly. Win, and you may earn respect, or at least escape with your life. In this way, the Kappa is like the river itself. It dares you to measure yourself against it. Step too boldly, and you will be swept away. Step wisely, and you might cross unharmed. The cucumber offerings remind you again of this truth. A gift is not simply a gift. It is an acknowledgement that the river has power. It is a humble admission. We cannot master you, but we can appease you. This is the oldest wisdom whispered through centuries. Do not fight water, for water always wins. Instead, respect it. Treat it as a neighbor with moods of its own. As you listen, the rhythm of the river begins to feel like your own breath. Inhale, the current rises. Exhale, the current falls. You realize how deeply tied you are to water, how your body itself is a vessel filled with rivers. The Kappa, then, is not only a creature outside of you, it is a reminder of what lives within you, the fragile balance, the thin line between calm and chaos. Villagers long ago may have feared the Kappa, but they also trusted its story to protect them. They used it as a boundary, a fence of words around dangerous places. Do not go there, the parents said. The Kappa waits. Stay safe here, where the fields are dry and the paths are firm. And so, countless lives were spared by a myth. Countless children guided away from danger by the simple image of a mischievous water demon. You pause, letting this sink in. The Kappa is not simply a monster from folklore. It is an old teacher. Its lessons are clear. Rivers give, rivers take, and every step near their banks must be careful. In the stillness of the night, you hear the water's voice again. It does not speak in words, but in rhythm, in the hush and surge of the current. It says, "Respect me, and I will feed you. Forget me, and I will claim you." And so you stand at the river's edge, your reflection shimmering. You whisper a quiet thought into the darkness. What hidden dangers in your life might wear a friendly mask, smiling as they pull you deeper? The river listens, the Kappa listens, and both remain silent. But their silence is an answer of its own. Reflections in still water. Now, as you gaze into the dark mirror of the river, the Kappa becomes a memory, an echo of human imagination. Its tale asks you, what do you fear and what do you respect? Like ripples fading on water, the story drifts into your dreams. The journey brings you back to the river, quiet now, as if all the laughter, the mischief, the menace, and the lessons have settled into silence. You stand still, and the water is still. The moon glides across its surface, a pale mirror stretched thin, holding the weight of stars. Here, in this moment, you meet the Kappa, not as a monster, not as a threat, but as a reflection, both of water and of yourself. The stories of the Kappa linger because they carry more than fear. They carry memory. They carry the way people once lived with rivers, ponds, and streams as constant companions. They remind you that life, too, is always lived beside deep waters, sometimes calm, sometimes dangerous, always shifting. When you gaze into still water, you see yourself, but the reflection is never whole. It wavers, breaks, reforms. It teaches you that identity is never fixed, that who you are changes with each ripple of experience. The Kappa, with its childlike body, its turtle's shell, its dish of fragile strength, what is it if not a reflection of our own contradictions? Mischievous, yet bound by courtesy. Dangerous, yet capable of gratitude. Feared, yet also respected. Just as water is needed for life, but feared for its floods, the Kappa holds both truths at once. You close your eyes and imagine the stories told at night, long ago. Children lying near the hearth, the smell of smoke and earth in the air. Parents whispering of the Kappa's tricks, warning them not to wander too far. Elders shaking their heads, recalling times when someone did not listen, and the river took what was careless. Yet beneath the warnings was always a rhythm, a comfort. The idea that even dangers have rules, even spirits can be bargained with, even chaos has a shape. The Kappa was frightening, but it was knowable, and in knowing, people found calm. You breathe slowly, and the rhythm of the story itself begins to soothe you. It repeats like water on stone, soft, steady, eternal. Mischief and menace, respect and ritual, fear and safety. All threads in a larger weaving, all part of the river's tapestry. The still water before you now is more than a mirror. It is an invitation. It asks, what do you fear and what do you respect? It asks, where in your life are you careless, stepping too close to edges without noticing? It asks, where have you shown courtesy and found danger soften into peace? The river does not demand an answer tonight. It is enough to let the questions drift. Like leaves carried on the current, they will find their own resting place downstream. You remember the cucumbers offered, the bows exchanged, the laughter that sometimes turned to silence. You remember that every story of the Kappa, no matter how strange, was always tied to a simple truth. Rivers are powerful, and life is fragile. The Kappa is the echo of that truth, carried from one generation to the next. Now, as the night deepens, you begin to feel the story dissolving into dream. The Kappa slips back beneath the water, not in anger, not in play, but in silence. Its eyes glimmer once, reflecting the stars, and then vanish. The river holds only your reflection again, soft and trembling. You bow, not because you must, but because it feels right. The gesture connects you to the long chain of those who bowed before rivers, who whispered their respect into reeds, who knew that life is safest when lived with humility. You bow, and in your heart the water's surface steadies. And now, as your body grows heavy, as your breath slows, the story itself becomes like water, flowing away, leaving behind only calm. The Kappa, with its tricks and lessons, drifts into your dreams. It will not harm you here. It will only remind you, gently, that fear can teach, that respect can protect, that stories can soothe as deeply as sleep itself. The river sings softly, a lullaby without words. Its current carries you further and further, until the edges of waking blur, until thought itself becomes still water, and in that silence, you rest. And so, the story of the Kappa drifts back into still water. It is more than a demon, more than a trickster. It is a reflection of the rivers themselves, playful, dangerous, and always deserving of respect. Through whispers and warnings, it reminded generations that life flows between safety and risk, and that humility is often the strongest shield. As the ripples fade, you are left with silence, calm and steady, like a mirror under the moon. Carry this quiet lesson into your dreams, letting the waters of sleep hold you gently. This has been Mythoria. Good night, and rest well.